Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the ASPRS Mentors Podcast. I'm Jordan Hicks, Chair of the Early Career Professionals Council. We also have with us Riley O'Donnell. Riley, do you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. My name is Riley. I'm a cartographer for the U.S. Marine Corps, and I'm very excited to be here today.
Thanks, Riley. We're excited to welcome today Rami Tamimi. Rami, are you okay with us recording this and sharing it on various social platforms?
Yeah, sure. No worries.
To get us started today, we'd like to open up with your some of your background. So you're a licensed professional surveyor and a Ph.D. candidate in geodetic engineering at the Ohio State University. What initially sparked your interest in surveying and geodesy?
Yeah, so for those that don't know, the one person that really brought me into this industry was my father. He, has been a surveyor 40 years now. So he definitely is a legend in the industry. And so for him, it was a big deal to kind of, have me be involved in his work. And so over the years, I just had a love for being outside, working with technology, and doing surveying work with him. So this led me down to my academic path, which I started at Ferris State University, and I got my bachelor's degree in surveying engineering. And it was at Ferris that I realized that, geospatial technology is the future of surveying. And a lot of the initial courses that I took, my geodesy course, my photogrammetry course, remote sensing, it kind of gave me that introduction, which was stuff that my father, maybe knows about from continuing ed, but doesn't use on a daily basis. And so I was very intrigued by it. So this kind of pushed me to go even deeper and led me to enroll at Ohio State University to do my Ph.D. in geodetic engineering. And now I'm going into my 7th year. So I've been at it for a while. I do have my candidacy status, so I'm nearing the end. But I just love the industry so much, and I love the technology, and really that's what brought me to be a part of this community.
That's exciting. So I've heard from several folks in the surveying industry that typically if you get into the surveying industry, it's because of a family member or it's totally completely by accident. But
unfortunately, early exposure to surveying at like the middle school and high school level it's kind of lacking. It's not like being a lawyer or being, a doctor or whatever. All these other career paths are a lot more clearer at that age. It is genuinely, hey, my dad forced me to do it, or I'm 30 years old and I was working in AEC and discovered surveying and now I'm going back to school. So it is both extremes, honestly, but it's great. It's amazing. And if you're in the industry, consider yourself lucky, honestly.
Absolutely. So after more than a decade in boundary topographic and GNSS surveying, which early project or mentor most shaped your professional outlook?
So I'd say there's two. And the first, when it comes to like field experience and business mentorship, again, my dad, right? He has basically shaped me to the professional that I am today. I started my career doing, boundary surveys, topo surveys with him in Metro Detroit. He has his own business. He started his business in the 2008 recession. So having seen him struggle and, really face the difficulties of the economic conditions, and tell me, hey, like, you're a teenager, you should come work with me. It kind of built the foundation for me. And now that I've like been out of school, well, out of my bachelor's for a long time, and I have my survey license and, I'm working in business now, he continues to mentor me and show me, what I can do to improve, how we can, grow together. Even though I'm on a different side of the business than he is, it's still very relevant, and getting his advice is critical. So without him, honestly, none of the success that I have would even be possible. But on the academic and research side, which is something that's very, very different from what he does, definitely my advisor, Dr. Charles Toth. Dr. Toth is well respected in the industry, and he has taken me under his wing. And, I have been working with him now for 6 years, going into my 7th year at Ohio State. So he's been instrumental in showing me the proper way to do research, exposing me to different ways of thinking. Whenever we're working on an experiment together, he is the one to kind of point me in the direction of, hey, you should look at this methodology, you should look at this paper. And so he's widened my thinking. And I think as a surveyor, we don't have too many mentors like that. Someone that's coming from the research realm to help us innovate in the industry. So without him, again, I wouldn't have had the success that I see online with my research and with my degree, and the ability to teach others how to do this type of work.
Charles Toth, you're right, is just a colossus in this industry, truly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If we can move on to some of your academic and research endeavors, how does your doctoral research in geodetic engineering intersect with day-to-day field surveying practices?
So I'm really trying to bridge the gap between the new technology that is constantly coming out and evolving and the traditional surveying that we're all familiar with. Realistically, a lot of surveyors will probably get to the party 10 years too late. By the time they discover a technology and accept it into the industry, we've already moved on to something else. We see this a lot with GNSS receivers, for example. There are surveyors that are just now starting to accept that, hey, GNSS is a real surveying tool. Well, we've moved on to other sensors and other applications. So what I'm trying to do is bring together, the methodology that we use in surveying, right? And use it as a benchmark for accuracy. And then the goal is to use new hardware like drones, or LiDAR sensors, and then different softwares like photogrammetry or different correction methods to assess the accuracy of this new technology, and determine a practical use case for a surveyor. So it's great to collect data and generate all these point clouds, but what do I do with this data, right? So my goal with my research is to, first off, prove that it's accurate to a certain degree, and then find an applicable way to use it so that a surveyor can say, okay, well, this makes sense to me. By doing this, we can take new technology and accept it to whatever degree. And then, hey, let's say this is good for, a topographic survey, or this is good for doing just planimetric ALTA drawings, whatever it is that the end result needs to be, that surveyor can now pick and choose based off of the research that I've done on which sensor that they can use. That's kind of my objective, what I'm trying to achieve. I'm trying to innovate more as I grow as a researcher, but this has kind of been the main focus for now.
So what current geodesy or positioning challenges keep you up at night, and why is solving it essential for the broader remote sensing community?
So I don't really have anything technical that keeps me up at night. What I do really, my main challenge that I'm trying to overcome is the community and education of new technology. Yeah. So the core issue that I'm finding is you would have untrained users using a new technology, right? The company hired on an intern and they said, here's a drone, go figure out how to do UAV LiDAR scanning, right? Okay, well, that's a very specialized field, right? But a lot of these surveyors just don't understand the complexity that goes behind it. So this poor untrained intern goes out and flies a project, and they come back with some bad data. The problem ends up being is the industry doesn't blame, the methodology or the lack of training. No, they blame the technology. They say, oh no, this is junk. Like this doesn't work. I don't know what they're talking about. The drone is bad. The sensor is bad. And they just want to dismiss this technology. And so this really stiffens the innovation that could continue. We could see more improvements had the technology been used appropriately. And so innovators are now discouraged to continue because the market is not accepting the technology. There's a huge problem between, teaching people how to use the technology correctly versus innovating it. So there's no sense in improving something when the initial start isn't even there. And so that's what keeps me up, right? That's what makes me think, man, I know smartphone mapping, right? When the iPhone came out with the LiDAR sensor, everyone was like, oh no, this is, there's no way you can use that for a survey. Yet I was making YouTube videos about how accurate that sensor is. And if we just used it in the most proper way, you could use it to supplement some of your work. Someone that goes out has no training, no experience, they're going to get bad data naturally because it's not something that's easy to learn on the fly. You can't just buy it, hire an intern, and expect good data. So that's the main focus. That's what I would love to overcome and fix in the industry.
That's as a small business owner in Arkansas, offering UAV LiDAR. That is one of the things that was the biggest challenge we had to overcome, was people's perception of the technology prior to us entering the market here. Apparently, there had been someone that had tried to provide LiDAR services that had not received the proper training, did not follow the proper methodology, and it put a bad taste in a lot of surveyors' mouths here in Arkansas. And so, yeah, well.
So now as a service provider, when you have, unfortunately, not even your own fault, but just the reputation of LiDAR being bad in the eyes of your customers, you are less likely now from a business standpoint to continue to invest in this technology. And if you don't invest in it, then the creators of that technology are not going to innovate. So you see the domino effect that happens. I mean, that's the worst thing that could happen to the industry, and it will lead to technical issues, obviously. But that's the core of it right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Rami, you've worked extensively with UAV-based LiDAR and photogrammetry mapping workflows. Which recent hardware or software advancement has had the most significant impact on data quality and efficiency?
Yeah, definitely. I have to give credit where credit is due. DJI has really paved the way for innovation in the UAV space. Their drones are probably the model that most drone manufacturers are following right now. And they are definitely far ahead than most people are. And I think most of you will agree with me on that. I'm not just saying that because I work with DJI. I work with other drone manufacturers as well. But they've really done a really good job of taking consumer drones and turning them into enterprise drones that we can use in the surveying and mapping world. And so the innovation of the L1 and the L2 brought UAV LiDAR at a much more affordable rate. I mean, previously, if you wanted to get into that space, you needed to come up with $200,000 to $300,000, and then even before drones, you were talking in the millions. So it's become much more affordable, where you can buy the drone, buy the LiDAR sensor, get the software for under $40,000. So for a business standpoint, it makes a lot more sense now to get into it. And so now for the innovation, we are seeing more applications of where we can use this technology. There are others that are also very competitive and working very well. I've worked with Wingtra before, and I've used their Inertial Labs LiDAR sensor. Wingtra is that giant orange drone that flies in a VTOL direction and then pivots. And it's a fixed wing drone. Again, very, very impressive. You can map like hundreds and hundreds of acres in a matter of minutes. So very easy to use. The technology has gotten a lot more accessible. And as it's more accessible, it's become more, more feedback can come back in, more people can be familiar with the technology. And I think what they're trying to do now is make it where, I don't want to use, I'm trying to find a proper way to say this, more accident prone, right? We don't want people to, and not accident as in like crashing the drone, but as in like having bad data. They're really making it where it's like anyone can just press the button and then it can fly. Of course, I always say as a user, you should be educated about have the knowledge of how it works and why it works. But DJI and Wingtra are two, leaders in the drone space. And then Wingtra's collaborated with Inertial Labs to create this system where you can put LiDAR on a drone. And then DJI has the Zenmuse L2. There are others. There are definitely others. I would love to try out more systems. But for me, I mean, just seeing how in the last couple of years, like we're talking 2 to 3 years here, those products have all come out, and now they're like the industry standard for anyone that's getting into the UAV LiDAR space.
when you teach GNSS and UAV workflows, what misconception do you find yourself correcting most often among early career professionals?
I think the biggest misconception, and it's not just early career, it's even guys that have been in the field for a long time. They think new technology is going to replace traditional equipment. And that's like furthest from the truth. New technology is here to augment or supplement what already exists. And a lot of these, new graduates, they think that, okay, why are we doing a level loop? Why are we using a total station? Just use a GPS or just use a drone or just scan it. Right? Just scan it is something we hear a lot in the reality capture space. And in some cases, sure, you could. But the reality is the initial tools that we use, these are the core fundamental principles of surveying. And so while I could, run, a GNSS receiver and do a topo with it, or I could just fly a drone and then extract the line works from the ortho image, when you start to look at the accuracy, when you start to look at other aspects of the site, like you're doing drops on a manhole, you're looking to figure out direction of pipes, things that a drone can't do or a GNSS receiver is just not accurate enough for. That's when you start to run into this whole, oh, so I guess I need to use the old stuff. Oh, so this is not good enough. And then we go back to that whole domino effect of this equipment's not good enough and this whole methodology is not, ready for surveying. And the reality is you need both, right? You need to know what you're using the equipment for and you need to use it in the correct way. There are times where it's very helpful. So I may teach a new surveyor how to do a level loop, but in practice, I'm not going to go find my nearest NGS monument, set up my level, and run a 1 mile level loop to my site. No, I'm going to use a GNSS receiver, get geodetic coordinates, but then I'm going to switch over to a total station because I need that accuracy. I need that relative precision. And then I can run the total station. But I've just modified my workflow using technology. So that's a really very practical example of how we're able to do that. And I always tell the new folks, hey, the technology is flashy and it's great, but the real skills, the real value comes when you actually understand how it works and have an appreciation for the traditional equipment that, has been iterated to get to this point.
That's good, Rami. It's good stuff.
Thanks.
All right. We can tell that, it's no accident that your YouTube channel reaches 80,000 plus subscribers and has over 5 million views. What convinced you that video is the right medium for surveying education? So
the origin of this whole YouTube space came from a necessity during COVID. So I was a graduate teaching assistant at Ohio State, and COVID hit. And so we needed to find a way to remotely deliver the field labs for our Introduction to Survey course, which is the course that I was teaching, but we couldn't meet in a classroom. We had gotten special permission to meet on campus in small groups, but we'd have to meet outside in the Oval. And anyone that's not familiar with the Ohio State campus, the Oval is like the outside courtyard where everybody kind of congregates or goes between classes. So that was the only place I can meet my students. And it's very difficult to sit there and explain how we're going to do a traverse or how we're going to do a resection without at least a 10-minute lecture in a classroom. So that's when the idea came to me, why don't I make a pre-lab video and I just kind of explain what we're going to do for the lab and then just have my students watch it before they came to campus. And so that was the initial thought, and that was the initial way to do it. And then why video, right? I mean, I always say with videos, it's visual, right? I can show you what we're going to do. I can show you, the total station being put on the tripod, or we're setting up the level and running the level loop, or how to hold the rod for, your level. It's different than being, lecturing, with a PowerPoint. No, I'm actually outside. I'm in the field and I'm actually doing the work. So not having, the PowerPoint, I think actually encourages people to watch. The other thing is I want it to be, relatable, right? I'm not the most formal lecturer, right? I'm a young professional, so I could be kind of relatable to these students. They're 5 to 10 years younger than me, so then I'm not that much older than them. And so that's how I keep the content engaging, It's kind of like this this attitude of, if I can do it, you can do it. That's what I always want them to feel when they're watching me. Not, hey, I'm some expert that's been in the field for 30 years and it's going to take you forever to do this. Like, no, I'm not much older than you. Like, you can follow into my footsteps pretty easily. And then videos are like evergreen, right? So when I post a video on YouTube, you could find that video 4, 5, 6 years down the line, and the concept of setting up a total station isn't going to change. So that content is still relevant. And so it becomes evergreen. It's always going to exist on the internet. It's always going to help people. And I don't have to remake it. I made it once and there it goes. It lives on the internet and now millions of people can watch it. So that's what I love about videos. That's what I love about YouTube. The whole community, it's just so perfect for delivering information and educating the next generation of surveyors.
Man, yes. I have found some of your 5, 6-year-old videos and learned quite a bit from them. So that is very true.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you balance the need for technical depth with short attention spans common to online platforms?
Yeah, I mean, we have to break things down. Nobody wants to sit through a 1-hour lecture. Everyone wants to kind of just get to the point. So I try to break it down into like digestible 10 to 15-minute videos. And that way, I can explain a concept, go through it in the field, and then show you the results. And then, if you want to see more, there's another video that you can click on. So you end up sitting there for hours watching videos of me, but the reality is there's several videos and you psychologically feel like you're learning a lot more than just watching one long lecture, that's in front of a PowerPoint. The other thing is I try to do it like it's a one-on-one mentorship, even though in reality, I'm speaking to nobody. I'm speaking to a camera. The reality is I'm speaking to millions of people, but the style that I go for is I'm speaking to one person. Right. I act like I'm a crew chief and I'm in the field and I'm just training my new hire, showing him the basics. Like, okay, this is what you're doing. This is how we set this up. If you run into this problem, this is how we go for, how do we fix it? So this like personal connection that I have with the viewer is what I think keeps people engaged, keeps people watching. It is very personal, and I do that on purpose because I wish I had that when I was in school. And it reminds me a lot of how my relationship with my father was. We're out in the field, we run into an issue, or he's showing me how to do something. It's a one-on-one mentorship, communication. So I try to mimic that. I try to give that to people that don't have that resource through my YouTube videos. So explaining how, and why things work in a real world context is going to be a lot more effective and increase retention and keep people engaged with my content.
If you can, let's move on to the survey school a little bit more. You founded the survey school to bridge gaps in traditional education and now mentor 100+ students worldwide. Which gap in classic university or apprenticeship pathways did you feel most urgently needed filling?
So the biggest gap was community, right? Without a community, without mentorship, you really struggle as a student. And I think that what we're doing here at the survey school is complementing what universities have done, right? They provide you with a classroom. Sure, we have a classroom, right? They provide you with, the instructor who's knowledgeable and who's skilled. Sure, we have that too. But what's really going to, set you apart is the ability to connect with others, to have the confidence to grow as a surveyor, knowing that, hey, I have people to help me. I have people that I can talk to from all over the world. And that's really what's missing in a lot of these programs right now. So, we offer, like I said, we have a classroom filled with courses that you would get. And then we also have like software and hardware partners that give our students free hardware and software to use. But that community where they can go into a forum and make posts and ask questions and share their projects. And it's not like this noisy Facebook group. We all know what those are like. This is actually people that have a common goal and they want to work together to solve problems and collaborate. This is what's building confidence, right? This is what's causing people to actually engage more and, take this very seriously. Like they're a part of an exclusive group that is really focused and dialed in to learn surveying. And one of the things that we're doing now is we're actually partnering with companies. So IMLID, GNSS receivers, great company. We've all heard of them. We all love what they're doing. They've really, brought the technology to so many new users. They've partnered with us, and top performing students are actually getting free GNSS receivers that they can use. So whatever they learn, within the community, they can go implement it now in real life, which is amazing. It's incredible. Pix 4D, photogrammetry processing software. They have also given free student licenses to all of our students that are engaged and working in the community so that they can now process their photogrammetry projects and learn how photogrammetry works, do, the bundle adjustment and figure out, okay, how can we improve the accuracy? So it's not just I learned how to do it. No, I'm actually doing it. I'm actually implementing it. And we have those resources that I think a lot of universities are actually struggling with. And then the biggest thing that we're doing now, we actually have a partnership with a conference, and I'll reveal in just a minute. But what we're doing is we're doing a research competition. So I want to promote research. I want people to do research. You don't need to be a PhD to do research. I think that there's a lot of people that are curious about a lot of problems. And so we've put together a research competition where students will pick a project, work on that project, and then we're going to develop a cohort where we'll actually train everybody and work with them on how they can, put together a methodology, put together the experiment, run the results and the analysis, and then conclude and discuss what happened with their experiment. And then we're going to actually host a symposium on my YouTube channel live for everyone to watch. And it's going to be August 8th at 4 p.m. So you're all welcome. Just visit my YouTube channel on August 8th. And that symposium will have all the students presenting their research. And so what we're doing is we're building confidence for them. We're putting them on the stage. It's not just, hey, sit in the classroom and do this lab or do this homework assignment. No, it's open. You're really engaging, you're really working. And then there's an end goal here. The winner, so they're going to vote, right? We're going to vote on who has the best presentation. And the winner is actually going to get a fully funded trip to Intergeo 2025 in Frankfurt, Germany. So for us, this is a huge deal. Intergeo is sponsoring all of this, which means that they really believe in our mission and in our plan. And so seeing these organizations partnering with us and giving us resources to help our students and help our community is really what's going to drive us to bridge that gap that a lot of students have as they enter this industry. And we're hoping to build the next generation of surveyors and geospatial experts and empowering them to be leaders in our industry.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, that is something that the industry needs desperately. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you got Intergeo to, sponsor that event is phenomenal. I mean, that's a big deal. Congratulations.
Thank you. No, thank you. I mean, honestly, it's for the students. It's for the members in the survey school. I want to give them, a lot of students wish they can attend some of these conferences, and whether it's funding or timing or whatever it is, a lot of them are unable to, right? Yeah. And I want there to be a way for them to be exposed to the industry. I want you to go and see the professionals that are actually working in the field. Introduce yourself, get yourself lined up. If you're looking for a job, get yourself lined up for the job. If you have a business, go get more work out there. Or if you're trying to go into a master's or PhD program, go talk to those universities. Show them, hey, I do research. I know how this works. You're more likely to get accepted into those universities. I think Ohio State has done a really good job of training me on how to do research. And I want to show that, hey guys, anybody can do this. You just need to have the right guidance, and then the right application, the right place to go present that research. So we're very grateful for Intergeo. I think they've been phenomenal to work with, and we hope to partner with more organizations like them to provide students with more value.
So many of our early career professionals wrestle with choosing a specialization. What criteria would you suggest they consider when evaluating niches such as hydrographic surveying, UAV mapping, or cadastral work?
I really think there are two main pathways that you can take, right? And the first one is the tech route, right? Let's say you love technology, you love research, you want to constantly innovate, and you really want to test technology and put it to its maximum ability. That would be the route where you take UAV mapping or LiDAR or hydrographic surveying, stuff that's really tech heavy. And what you'd want to be prepared for is that you're constantly going to be switching equipment, you're constantly going to be switching software because the innovation is rapidly changing, right? It is a bit of a routine in some ways, but you're going to be doing some level of research that is going to make you basically switch software. Let's try this over that. Let's add this sensor. Let's see if we include the correction. Let's use PPK instead of RTK. There's constant innovation there, right? That's the tech route. But let's say maybe that's not the route you want to take. Maybe you want to go the other path, which is more of the problem solving route, right? This is more of the cadastral survey, the boundary surveying. You're working with historical documents, you're working with deeds, you're working with, title commitments, affidavits, all of this like legal documentation, and you're making a legal determination of boundary, right? You don't have to pick one and say, this is all I do. I mean, I do a little bit of both, right? I'm in the tech space. I love technology, but then I also love solving a difficult boundary, right? I think there's something, there's some kind of fulfillment in being able to solve a boundary and plot it into a drawing. So I always say, look and see, are you more of the tech, innovator, or are you more of the problem solving type? And then based off of that, go into that field and don't necessarily specialize in just one thing. You may be good at one thing, but keep an open mind to all of it, right? It's all interconnected. In some ways, the boundary guy is going to end up needing a drone, and the guy that's flying the drone is going to need someone to, have a PS license to sign off on something, right? So we're all connected. It's a small group. But yeah, that would be my approach and my advice.
Looking back, which soft skill, communication, project management, or something else proved most critical to your success, and how did you cultivate?
I think communication is probably the biggest soft skill, right? It's very underutilized in many ways. We communicate with clients, we communicate with team members, we communicate with mentees and mentors. So all these are people that are important in our life, in our professional practice. And so keeping that relationship with them is very critical. When you're dealing with a client, right? Your client is paying you to do work. And so you need to keep that relationship, healthy and alive, and nurture them and give them what they need so they can keep giving you work, or so that you can continue this relationship that you have. Your clients are basically what keep the lights on. So it's important to focus on your clients, focus on who you're doing work for, and understand that this person trusts you and respects your knowledge and your skills. And so you need to deliver. When you say you're going to do something, do it. If you're not able to do it, talk to them, communicate with them. They're people, they're human like you, they have a family like you do. They have, they have a lot, they deal with the same things you do. So, your client's communication is important. Your team members or your employees, depending if you own your own business or you're a manager, they're the resources that you are going to need to be able to complete these tasks. So when I'm working with my coworkers, or if I have employees that I'm, managing, I need to make sure that they have everything they need. Talk to them, ask them, hey, do you have everything you need? Do you understand the responsibility that you're, that you have? How can I help you? Are there tools that you need? Is something not working? How do you, having that dialogue, can be uncomfortable, especially in our space. Like we don't want to talk about that kind of stuff. We just want to focus on the work. But that's the type of stuff that can make or break a business, right? So it's important to have a good relationship and communicate with your employees or the people that you're working with. And then the people that you mentor, or the people that you're mentored from. I see this very often where you get into the field, right? And you're working with a 40 plus year experienced crew chief. They've never gone to school. They were straight out of high school into the field, and they've been doing boundary surveys their whole life. It doesn't matter how much education you have. It doesn't matter how much you know. That surveyor has been out there for 40 years, and you need to respect him. You need to know how to ask him questions. You need to listen to him when he tells you something. And, trying to be smart with a veteran surveyor like that is never going to get you anywhere. It doesn't matter if they have no formal education. They know what they're doing, and you could learn from them. So take advantage of that opportunity, show them that you're interested in learning about what they know. That's the kind of stuff that I think that a lot of people just kind of, they don't really think about. The one other soft skill I could say is maybe project management and dealing with stress. I've done this. This is a very big problem of mine where I overload myself, and and the biggest thing you need to know is that you recognize that this is a problem. You overload yourself, you start to get stressed, and you start to wonder why. Well, you remember, stress comes from, having the ability to do something but not doing it, right? Having the control of a situation but not taking action to basically mitigate that situation. And so then you get stressed about it. And the way you handle stress is by asking for help. Whether you need to delegate something or you need to partner with someone or subcontract some projects, you need to ask for help. And if you don't, you're going to continue to stress. You're not going to meet deadlines, and projects will start to fall behind. And then we go back up to dealing with clients and having to communicate with them. And if you don't have that soft skill, you start to lose work. So soft skills are very underutilized, and people don't really ever think about how they can improve those soft skills. But we mainly focus on our technical knowledge and how much I know about LiDAR, how much I know about boundary surveying, and these small things really can make or break you as a professional. So always focus on those, and that would be those are the ones that I at least focus on in my professional practice.
So we're going to go into a quick lightning round. Just going to ask you 5 questions, and if you can just give me the first thing that comes to your head.
Sure.
Right? Okay. So what is your favorite field instrument today?
Probably the iPhone with an RTK sensor attached to it.
Okay. I'm going to have to get more information on that later. All right.
Yeah.
One software tool you can't live without.
AutoCAD Civil 3D.
Yes. All right. Most underrated surveying book or paper.
Either Clark or Brown on surveying and boundary.
Go-to resource you recommend for staying current on UAV regulations.
FAA website.
All right, that's a good one.
Yeah, go straight to the source.
Yeah. A non-surveying hobby that keeps you balanced.
That's a tough one. I mean, videography used to be videography and filmmaking, but that has slowly creeped its way into my work. Mm-hmm. Travel also. I used to travel a lot for fun, and now I'm traveling to conferences. So I think a lot of times passions turn into being part of your profession. So yeah.
Before we close, what's next for you, either academically, professionally, or on YouTube?
Well, academically, I definitely want to finish my Ph.D. I've enjoyed it, really. I mean, my Ph.D. has been the start of so many great businesses, projects, and just relationships that I have today. I started this 6 years ago, and I've went into Dr. Toth's office as a just entry-level surveyor with all these ideas. And looking back now, how much I've evolved. I've gotten married. I bought a house. I have a kid now. I have multiple businesses. And so we always talk about how the PhD really isn't a sprint. It's a marathon. It's a journey, and there's a lot of ups and downs with it. And you really grow as a professional as you go to school. As long as you have someone there that's really holding your hand and helping you grow. So definitely academically wrap up the PhD, defend my research at some point. Professionally, I mean, I currently work with, helping my dad as much as I can in the field, but I also have I have a lot of businesses that I manage. I have the YouTube marketing business. I have an aerial mapping business. I have the survey school. So, this has been my main focus. I try to be in the field as much as I can. So whenever my dad has a boundary he needs help with, I'm there, I'm helping him. But at the same time, I'm one person. So I have to be responsible with my time. But I love the journey. It's kind of all over the place right now, but I'm sure over time it'll work itself out. But yeah, and on YouTube, I just want to continue to create content, educate and entertain people. I want to continue working with great companies, featuring new products, testing them, seeing how they're relevant in the surveying industry, and just inspiring the next generation of surveyors.
How can listeners get in contact with you or enroll in the survey school?
Yeah, I mean, thesurveyschool.com is the best place to go. We have some free resources there for you, and everything you need to know about joining the program. Really, it's a great community filled with like-minded people that are passionate and obsessed with surveying and geospatial technology. We really are close, and we're very close, and we really love working together as a I don't know how to explain it. Like it's people that love surveying and love this technology and want to learn more, and they want people to talk to about it. They want the resources right there for them, whether it's the classroom or it's live calls or it's hardware or software or attending conferences. So definitely check it out, thesurveyschool.com, and be a part of our community.
All right. Well, thanks again, Rami, and thanks for coming on. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I really appreciate being here and having you interview me and being a part of the podcast.